Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now, here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to part 2 with Dan Infalt. And this section, we're going to talk about marking the outdoors versus being a hunter. Dan Infalt and the Hunting Beast. Dan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and a while back, you had a great article, and, basically it was marking the outdoors versus being a hunter. What got you going on this topic?
I don't watch hunting TV. It's always kind of turned me off, but I was sitting around bored and I flipped on some hunting shows, and it just something really turned me off, and I kind of went on a rant about it. I did get a lot of hell for that article. I got a few TV hosts wrote me some nasty messages, but that's okay. Sure, I mean, if you read it, I mean, it was a little harsh, but it wasn't aimed at anybody in particular, and it was really aimed at them up in the game. It wasn't aimed at telling them they're bad people, because I don't have any offense to anybody how they hunt. I don't care if you hunt on a game farm. I don't care if you hunt on the 800 acres that you have managed and you have mock scrapes all over. I don't care about any of that. But if you're going to put that stuff on TV, what you're doing is, saying, wow, look at me, when 99% of your viewers hunt public land in the back 40. You're out of touch with them. And most of these guys got into these shows because they had a passion for hunting and a passion that they wanted to share with people. Then they get tied up into this advertising, getting the money from the advertisers, having to use the sponsor products and having to make ads, and they justify what they do, by promoting this stuff and really lying to you about you have to have this to kill a deer. What they're doing is really selling themselves out. And they're forgetting that passion they had that drove them into getting into that filming in the first place. And they're just following along with a script that's been written for them so that they can get their 13 weeks every year, on TV. So it kind of set me off.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Because I think my comment was, basically, I don't care how much money you have, you can't buy the hunting experience that people who are public land, DIY hunters, and the hunting tradition, freezing your butt off on all-day sits on a river.
I would rather watch a show. I don't think I'm alone here, but I would rather watch a show where a guy shows his day-to-day struggles hunting just like I do. And if he doesn't kill a deer in that show, I'm okay with that. I'd just rather see the struggles of going after him and how he plays it, rather than just showing me kills and sitting there posing with a deer and talking about all the products he used to kill it.
Why do you think the outdoor industry has gotten to this point?
At some point in the past, somebody went overboard with trying to get sponsor money, and somewhere in the beginning there, and they started saying, well, I can say I shot it because of this. I can say, but it's turned into that where that's what our sponsors expect. Where really it should just be a paid advertisement. Just play the ad, and then the hunter doesn't have to lie. He doesn't have to go push his crap on somebody. That's what I'd rather see. But it went the other direction, and they've kind of ruined hunting TV and hunting shows. And a lot of those guys just seem fake. I mean, it doesn't seem like reality for your average guy that goes out there and pounds it trying to get it done,
That's one thing, and I've had a lot of, I say kids because they're younger than I am. Most people are younger than I am. And they're just doing self-filming, and they just start to finish. And it's basically what you said. Here's the trials, the tribulation. Here's what hunting is about. And it's about failing 99 times. And you have that one time that you pull the trigger or you open your fingers or however you're shooting your bow and the deal's done. As we talked earlier, you hunt 100 days a year, and maybe the total amount of kill sequence, if you want to call it that, is a half an hour.
Yeah.
Out of 100 sits. Holy fright. There's no advertising in the world that would pay you for that.
Right.
And maybe that's the crux of the problem. And if you're out there and you're who's who in the outdoor industry, my email is whitetailrendezvous@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you about. And, because I think everybody wants to make a buck. It's a $37 billion industry. ATA is huge. I get it. People have to make a living. A lot of people supported because, of all the companies that have come and been successful, and all the camo companies, and it's marketing. And I get it. It's no.
What we need is a new hero to rise up. You're old enough, like I am, to remember some of the great hunters. Like the last episode, I think you brought up Billy Wenzel to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great man back in his time. And I always think about Miles Keller because, I spent some days talking to him at shows. When I used to work with Lone Wolf, he used to come over to the booth and we'd sit down and talk before and after the shows. And I just love that guy. Back in those days in like the late 80s, early 90s. He was a guy that back when there wasn't all these big bucks, he would go to where he heard a rumor about a buck and hunt it down. There was a giant 8-pointer that was in Wisconsin. He went to that buck, shot it, killed it, and it was the state record for a long time in this state. And he came from out of state to do it. And that was a real hunter. I mean, there was a guy that went and hunted deer down. And you just don't see people like that are the mentors nowadays. The mentors are product salesmen. They're pushing crap on you. They're lying about things to get you to buy stuff. Instead of being honest and paving the way for young people, they're teaching them how to be connivers, and they're kind of tainting the industry.
Yeah, all for the money, because it's a money game.
You must, at your age, you must remember some of those great, how things used to be back then, like when the first videos came out from the Fitzgeralds out of Michigan. We all sat there with our jaws hanging out. They're actually shooting deer on video. Remember they used to, when they show something on TV, how they'd block the shot when people shoot the deer? I mean, the kids nowadays don't know what we're talking about, but they used to actually make a black screen when the shot would be taken because they would not show a kill on TV. So when videos came out from like Dan Fitzgerald and stuff like that, that old passing through video on VHS, we were all shocked at that stuff. I mean, but those guys were mentors back then. And I mean, he started into that sales stuff, but I think everybody kind of got pushed that way. But we've lost those old school hunters. I think a lot of these guys on these TV shows, they don't know the first thing about hunting. They're sitting over manicured food plots and stuff and tree stands with trail cameras with named deer. Today I'm going to hunt Freddie. I couldn't name a deer and go shoot it. I got nice bucks that come up in my yard. We got a big tom turkey that comes eats out of our bird feeder. I would never go out there and shoot it. It's just a different world for me. To see that stuff. I bet you those guys couldn't go out and take a look at a set of buck tracks and tell you it's a buck by the way it places its last foot. Which was, everybody knew that when I was a kid. How to look at the tracks and tell you if it was a buck or a doe. They don't know those basic skills anymore because they just get into this food plot trail camera sales game, and I would like to see more of an educational aspect.
Yeah, it's just like you can tell a buck from a doe how they pee or where they pee, and I was thinking, go ahead.
That whole buck thing, they got that, a buck has smaller hips in the back and a bigger chest, and a doe has a bigger rear end and a smaller chest. So the hind foot is outside on the doe, it's inside on buck.
Right.
When you get those tracks.
And just think of railroad tracks on a big buck.
Yeah.
And, it just, the Benoit brothers.
The whole woodsmanship is just gone.
Well, that's a lost art. And I was just going to say about my Uncle Henry, who lived on a farm in Rhode Island. And I watched him kill the first buck I ever saw kill with his 45-70. And the buck came on a ridge. He said, Bruce, you go get my 45-70. I carried out to him. Boom. And he killed it. He said, I've been looking for that sucker for over a month. But he had a favorite stump, and he went on that stump, and it was in the right place, and he knew how to get in and get out, and he'd just sit there and he was very patient, and he got it. Or you take the Benoit brothers up in Maine, and they get on a track, and they stay on a track till they kill the deer or it got dark. And if it got dark, they go back. And that's how I learned how once you get on an animal, it could be an elk or it could be a deer, they know you're on them pretty quickly. And you'll see them start circling. Or if you don't pressure them real hard, you can see and figure out where they're going to go bed because of the way they start to meander. And, all those little hidden, as you said, woodmanship, it's your craft. And it's been lost. And I can say that because I'm 72 years old and I know it's been lost because of the commercialization of hunting, period. And
Yeah, it's become, these young guys are starting to believe that you got to, it's about having the right product or the right trick. I mean, how many times have you been asked, well, what's the trick? And you hear that so many times, you just roll your eyes. You're like, there's no trick. The trick is you got to work hard at it.
Yeah, it's like being good at anything.
Right.
I think, it's being skilled at anything, repetition and patient. And I'm not a patient hunter. I can't tell you how many times I've blown hunts just because I haven't been patient. And that's on me. I mean, it's just like, why don't they just wait 30 seconds more? And, that's on me. But that's okay. But the older I get, the more patient I am.
Yeah.
But, our listeners, it's very simple. I killed my first deer in Wisconsin, 1966, with, some plaid, blue jeans. I did have a pair of rubber boots that laced at the top and a red hat and a pair of gloves and a shotgun with slugs. And we were along the Bearable River outside Laval, and we hunted the farm and we drove it. I mean, we drove it with 20 or 30 guys and 10 standers, and we just drive the river, both sides of the river. And, we killed a lot of deer, but that's how it was done. And then the whole thing's evolved. But saying that, it can be as simple as you want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's two ways to kill a giant buck. You can earn it or you can buy it. And when you earn it, there's a lot more heart into it. I mean, you get a real feeling of accomplishment. And some people get their feeling of accomplishment by setting up a farm with food plots and scrapes and cameras and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my sense of accomplishment. My sense of accomplishment is outsmarting them on their turf, on their ground, on their land, where they live, going in there, not manipulating anything, just figuring them out like a chess game and cutting them off,
But you're unique. I mean, you're in the top 5%. It's probably even higher than that of the people that are skilled enough to do what you're doing. And there's a lot of guys and gals that we'll never hear of. They're on nobody's radar screen. And you'll never hear of them. And they just kill buck after buck. And you go in their garage. And I've seen a couple of these guys, and I just go, holy freight. Did you ever score these or anything? He said, why do I want to score them? I had the joy of outfoxing that deer. We ate them. And I get the horns, and every once in a while they go, I wonder when your kids are going to come up so I can hunt them. And that's it. And they've been hunting the same 100, 200 acres. That's where they hunt. Yeah.
You got some guys, you get down into, the South and stuff, Tennessee and stuff like that, or Alabama, where you can kill a buck a day. And you get some guys down there that have really become efficient killers, but you'll never hear their names or anything. I mean, the bucks only get to 100 inches when they're mature, so they're not going to be record book bucks. And they just put them in the garage, and they just keep their mouths shut. There's a lot of people like that, a lot more than people know. It'd be nice to see a couple of those hardcore killers that are young yet come out with some show or something, and really teach the young people,
That's a good idea. So if you're one of those out of the radar guy or gal, and you got to figure it out, get in touch with me. Get in touch with Dan. You can reach me at whitetailrendezvous@gmail.com. Dan, how do they get in touch with you?
Just hunting beast, or just Google my name. Pops up everywhere.
Yeah, it does. But,
the good and the bad.
Yeah, well, no tongue in cheek, but, some people just don't want. I know I have a good friend. He's from Wisconsin. He's got a barn like you have, and he just refuses. He says, Bruce, and I've hunted with him in Buffalo County, and he says, I refuse to get involved in it. I have a very successful business, blah, 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 and I have no desire. I've been asked a lot of times, blah, blah, blah. And he says, I hunt because I want to hunt. I enjoy hunting. And he's like you. He says, I want to get on a deer and I want to kill that deer. If I hunt that one deer the whole season and don't get him, I'm good with that. And if I get him, then I've accomplished what I set out to do. And I think there's a lot of guys like that and gals. I really do.
Yeah, I do. I agree.
And he doesn't need the money, but there's other people that really don't care. about being on the radar. When I think about the whole thing, I think that's where the transition is all of a sudden, up and comers, kids who are hunters and very successful, they're going, I don't want any part of that. I just don't want to be an advertiser. I don't want to have, my truck wrapped. I don't care. I really don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot the broadheads I shoot because they do the job. I'm going to shoot the arrows because they stay together. I'm going to shoot whatever bow I want and release I want. And, I know some guys haven't changed their gear in years. And guess what? It's still killing deer.
Yeah. I was killing deer back in the, early 80s with bow I bought at a garage sale. I can remember being a full draw and the string popping off the cams while I'm aiming at a deer because I had such cheap stuff, but I got it done. I killed deer. And nowadays it's like you start talking to somebody about hunting and they start rattling off, I got this kind of bow and it costs this much. And I don't care what kind of bow you got. It's about hunting, it's about the pursuit. But people are turning it into products, and that's probably because they're being brainwashed of that when they turn on to these TV shows.
One thing I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, is, ATA, just not too many years ago, a guy was getting sponsored and he'd get $100,000 for his show. Then all of a sudden, 10 people are getting $10,000 for the content. And it's really changed. And that's why I think the YouTube channels and the Gen 7s and Carbon TV, and I can't remember the name of the TV channel that basically without advertising. And then Nick Albanese out in New Jersey has something going on where you could send him the film, he edits it and produces it.
Yeah.
So there's so much content out there. I mean, tremendous. And just like the podcast industry, it's just exploding.
YouTube's actually getting pretty good. It's a good replacement for TV. I mean, I really like what the hunting public's doing and a few of the other ones,
Yeah, because I think you can find, just real hunts. And here we are shivering in the ground blind or shivering in the tree stand. And I went 10 days in a row and I'm still shivering.
Yeah, I got a show on YouTube. I got a pretty good one. It's a little rough, but I put a lot of those hunts together, show, how I set up and all that stuff.
Yeah. Now, how would somebody find that?
Just search my name on YouTube or Hunting Beast on YouTube. Pop right up.
So, folks, we're not anti-materialism, but really start thinking about why you're hunting. And are you being intimidated is the wrong word, but make it simple. That's the biggest thing, I can say. Just make it simple. And
really, I mean, a lot of these guys, there's so many people that are filming for something, whether it's YouTube or TV or whatever. It seems like because of how easy it is now, everybody's doing it. And my point would be that if you've been doing this a little while, is just take a step back and think about why you got into it and go back to your passion and follow your dreams in your heart and not what some sponsor's telling you to do or what you got to do to pay for your show. If your show don't get paid for because you won't sell out, that's fine. I'd be more happy to watch you on YouTube without that sponsor than to watch you on TV lying to me about some product. I mean, follow your heart and do what you believe is right and remember why you got into it, if you're one of the guys out there filming.
And that goes for gals too. And because there's a lot of great gals out there hunting and extremely successful and they got great followings. It's social media. I just think back the world of social media and hunting, the good, bad, and the ugly. We're completely exposed to anti-hunters and they rail on us all the time. And then we rail on each other because, you shouldn't have killed that little deer. Oh, I'm going to kill whatever deer I want to kill because I'm going to eat it. And it was my nephew, his first hunt. And I told him, you see a deer, it's legal, shoot it. Boom. Story's over.
Yeah.
And yet my 2 cents is, the hunting tradition is too important not to keep because there's so many lessons learned about life in hunting camp.
Yeah. All people need some sort of release. You need something to do, and for some it's sitting on a bar stool. For some it's chasing women. For some it's playing sports. For us it's hunting. And I see that the hunting world is a real great direction to go. I mean, it's ethical, moral, you're doing good things and your family should support that, more than some of the other things you could be doing. But, you're going to go out and you're going to do something on your free time. And I just think that the hunting and the chase for these bucks is a good moral thing to do.
And with that, we're going to close this segment of Dan Infalt times 3. So Dan, thanks so much for being on the show, and I can't wait for the next session.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.